Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today, I'm going to go my review of AEW's Dynamite, and welcome to your AEW Dynamite post-show. Starting off tonight, man, we got Tony Schiavone in the ring with microphone in hand. Tony Schiavone was going to pretty much make a major announcement, but that announcement is quickly interrupted by Samoa Joe and the Ops. Samoa Joe grabs the microphone. He asks Schiavone if he wonders if Schiavone was involved in what happened to Joe last week. The Ops then go to attack Schiavone, but Paige is here, as well as Hook and Eddie Kingston. Hook tells the Ops to put their trios titles on the line. This pisses off Samoa Joe, but Samoa Joe accepts Hook's challenge. Some interesting stuff there between the Ops and Paige, Kingston, and Hook. Moving on from that, we go into our first official match of the night. It's Orange Cassidy taking on Claudio Castagnoli. The match itself, it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between Orange Cassidy and Claudio, with Orange Cassidy trying to keep the pace of the match. Claudio hits a giant swing in the middle of the ring on Orange Cassidy, but Orange gets up, hits a Hurricane Rana on Claudio Castagnoli. Claudio then hits a Liger Bomb on Orange Cassidy for a near fall, followed by Orange hitting a Stun Dog Millionaire on Claudio Castagnoli. Orange Cassidy then hits an Orange Punch on Claudio, but Claudio then hits a devastating European uppercut on Orange Cassidy, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Claudio Castagnoli. After that, we got a backstage segment between Kyle Fletcher, Don Callis, and Mark Briscoe. Looks like Mark Briscoe is still trying to lobby a TNT title rematch, and it looks like he got it. Looks like it's going to be Kyle Fletcher defending the TNT title against Mark Briscoe for the TNT title at Full Gear in a no disqualification match, but the other stipulation of this match would be if Mark loses this match, he would have to leave the conglomeration and join the Don Callis family. Some interesting stuff there between Mark Briscoe and Don Callis. Moving on from that, we have a women's tag team tournament quarterfinal matchup. It is Athena teaming up with Mercedes Moné, taking on Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with Athena and Moné keeping the pace of the match. Moné hits a Meteora in the middle of the ring, followed by Moné applying a statement maker on Harley, but the hold is broken. Athena and Willow then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Willow hitting a Death Valley driver on Mercedes Moné in the middle of the ring. Athena then is calling for Billy Starks. Billy Starks is here, but Statlander comes out of nowhere and attacks Billy Starks. This allowed Willow to hit a powerbomb on Athena, and Harley ends up hitting the finish, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match and moving on in the women's tag team tournament are Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron. Hats off to Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Tony Schiavone's announcement finally. Tony Schiavone announces that AEW will have a Casino Gauntlet match at this year's Full Gear, where the winner of the Casino Gauntlet match will be the newly crowned AEW National Champion. That is correct. AEW has yet again added a new title to AEW. Schiavone then announces that the first two competitors in this Casino Gauntlet match are none other than Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin from the Hurt Syndicate. The Hurt Syndicate come out to the ring with MVP. MVP then praises the Hurt Syndicate, but they're quickly interrupted by the Demand. Ricochet grabs a microphone. He mocks the Hurt Syndicate. Ricochet says that he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that the Hurt Syndicate don't win gold. MVP then mocks Ricochet, but Ricochet says that he's pretty much entering the Casino Gauntlet match. Go figure. Some interesting stuff there between the Demand and the Hurt Syndicate, as well as the announcement that AEW has now added another title to their repertoire of titles that they already have with the AEW National Championship, and we will talk about how I feel about that at the end of the show. Moving on from that, we got Darby Allin taking on Daniel Garcia in a blood and guts advantage match. I thought the match was a decent match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Darby Allin and Daniel Garcia, with Darby keeping the pace of the match. Darby then hits a Scorpion Death Drop on Garcia in the middle of the ring. Pac then comes out of nowhere, attacks Darby Allin ringside with the referee being distracted. This allowed Garcia to apply a Scorpion Deathlock on Darby, but Darby breaks the hold. Darby then applies a Scorpion Deathlock of his own on Daniel Garcia. Garcia taps out, And your winner of the match is Darby Allin. Hats off to Darby Allin for getting the win in this matchup. After the match, though, we can see Pac attacking Darby. Orange then attacks Pac. Yuta then comes out of nowhere, hits a running knee on Orange Cassidy. And then we get the rest of the Death Riders and the Conglomeration pretty much fight in the middle of the ring. Moving on from that, we have FTR. FTR come out to the ring, grab a microphone. FTR then calls out Bandito and Brody King. Their music hits, but nobody comes out to the ring. Bandito then, Brodito are locked in their locker room. You see Stokely Hathaway pretty much standing or sitting, if you will, by their locker room. FTR then spot Bandito's family in the crowd. FTR then mock Bandito's family. FTR then attacks Bandito's family, I think his brother to be specific. Brody King then is shown in the background on the Titantron. He ends up breaking through a wall, grabbing Stokely Hathaway. Hathaway runs away. It looks like Bandito and Brody King get free, and Brodito come out to the ring to pretty much try to attack FTR. Some interesting stuff there between FTR and Brodito. Moving on from that, we have another Blood and Guts Advantage matchup, but this time it's for the women. It's Mina Shirakawa taking on Megan Bayne. I thought it was a decent match, back and forth matchup between Shirakawa and Bayne, with Mina keeping the pace of the match. Bayne hits a fallaway slam off the middle rope on Mina Shirakawa, but Marina Shafir comes out of nowhere and is choking Toni Storm while Storm is on commentary for this matchup. Bayne ends up hitting a running Liger bomb on Mina Shirakawa, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Megan Bayne. After the match, Bayne and Shafir then attack Mina Shirakawa. Tony then tries to save Mina, but the Triangle of Madness come out of nowhere, attack Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. Jamie Hayter, Willow, and Harley Cameron are here. They attack the Triangle of Madness. Monet is here, but seems hesitant to enter the ring. After that, it looks like she was going to go back up to the ramp, but she's quickly attacked by Chris Statlander. Some interesting stuff there between Statlander and Monet. And then we round out the main event of the show with the Ops and taking on Paige, Hook, and Kingston for the Trios title, which, again, wasn't a terrible, terrible match. A couple of things I want to talk about, man, when it pertains to AEW Dynamite before I get the hell up out of here, man. Number one, there is a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about, man. You know, am I going to sit here and say that this was the best Dynamite show? No. Was it a really good show? No. AEW, I mean, again, man, I'm trying to do my absolute best not to sound like a broken record. We get the opening of the show with Tony Schiavone making this supposed announcement, but he was quickly interrupted by Samoa Joe, and then we see Tony Schiavone later on making this huge announcement. Now, this announcement was the huge elephant in the room. This was the main vocal point of the night, with Schiavone announcing that AEW is going to hold a Casino Gauntlet match at this year's Full Gear, where the winner of this Casino Gauntlet match will be the newly crowned AEW National Champion. I have a couple issues with this, man, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people have some issues with this. So, Schiavone made this announcement that Tony Khan and the powers that be are bringing in a AEW National Championship. Now, a lot of people are wondering, what does this championship really entail? So I did some research. Go figure. This championship here, with this AEW National Championship, is basically going to be a title that's going to be pretty much presented week in and week out on AEW television. It's going to be defended through AEW Dynamite, Collision, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, as well as CMLL. There was also rumors that this title will also be defended on the independent scene as well. Now, if you guys go back as far as I do watching Dynamite, you guys would realize that AEW's obviously got their fair share of titles. AEW, to me, it seems like it wasn't that long ago, but we're going to go back a little bit. AEW introduced a international championship. Now, this championship, at the time, the whole goal of this championship was to be defended week in and week out, and defended, internationally, defended on the indies, as well as, New Japan Pro Wrestling at the time before AEW was working with CMLL. That really didn't happen. And I believe it was Orange Cassidy, if I'm not mistaken, who was one of the international champions, where he would be on the indies and he would defend the title. But I also remember distinctly that he was a little upset that he didn't defend his international title at Wembley for All In. And I remember him saying that. I was like, you know what? He was absolutely correct on this. And then we get to now, where AEW introduces this national championship. And it's the same concept, literally, as the international title. Now, I don't know what the mindset is of a Mr. Tony Khan, or what the plan is here for AEW, man. Number one, AEW has an abundance of goddamn titles, man. Number one. Number two, you're also introducing this new title right around the fact that you just literally introduced a women's tag team tournament to crown new AEW women tag team champions. You're doing this seemingly pretty much neck to neck with that announcement. We already have the women's tag team tournament going on, and now you want to bring in basically a men's national championship. I just feel like, for one, it takes away from the women's tag team titles, in my honest opinion, which, again, I will get to that in a minute. But we do not need another title, man. I mean, Okada alone is basically walking around, from what I understand, with 3 goddamn titles. At the time, it was the Unified it was the Continental Championship, the International Championship, and now the Unified Championship. So there's titles already there for Okada. There's the TNT title. There's the Trios titles, AEW Tag Team Championships, TNT title, AEW World Champion, TBS Championship, AEW Women's Champions. Now we got AEW Women's Tag Team Champions, and now with the announcement from Mr. Tony Schiavone last night, now we have an AEW National Championship. So it's like, bro, how many titles do you guys honestly want? It's getting absolutely fucking insane with these titles. A title, meanwhile, they brought in, which is literally what the international title was supposed to do and supposed to be. I mean, at the end of the day, folks, look at the narrative. I mean, if we're looking at the championship titles that AEW has right now, how many titles do you honestly see that's being showcased right now weekly on their episodic television? Pretty much none. It's not like we're seeing Kyle Fletcher defend the TNT title week in and week out on Collision or Dynamite. We're not seeing the women's TBS title getting defended week in and week out, whether it's Dynamite or Collision. AEW World title, is it getting defended on weekly episodic television, whether it's Dynamite or Collision? No. So how am I supposed to give a shit about this AEW national title when you don't give a fuck about the titles you have now? Clearly. You don't give a shit about the TNT title. You don't give a shit about the AEW World Championship, because if you did, there'd be more storyline around it, and the title will be actually showcased. I'm not sitting here saying that the AEW World title has to be defended on Dynamite or Collision every single week. My impression at the time, even after the whole unified shit happened between Kenny Omega and Okada, that we possibly would have seen the TNT title, and if not the TBS title, defended more on a weekly basis on AEW television, considering the fact that both of these shows are on TNT and TBS. We're not even getting that shit. But then you make this announcement last night that AEW is introducing a AEW National Championship where it's going to be seen, from what they said, on their more weekly episodic basis on Dynamite and Collision. I had to see it to believe it, to be honest with you. It's a huge abundance of AEW championships, man. We just don't need it. And then we get to the AEW Women's Tag Team titles, bro, and I'm going to be honest, man. I feel like, first and foremost, I will say I was shocked with the fact that Willow and Harley ended up beating Monet and Athena. But with that being said, it does worry me going into Full Gear, or whatever. I think it's Full Gear that Monet is going to be challenging Chris Statlander for the AEW Women's title. It does worry me on the fact that, is Monet, now that she lost this matchup in the tag team tournament, is Monet going to walk into Full Gear and walk out new AEW Women's Champion? That worries me a lot. Because my thing was, and I even made comments about this, I think it was last week, that I don't mind if Monet or Athena win the AEW Women's Tag Team Championships, as long as we get Monet and Statlander at Full Gear, where Statlander walks out still AEW Women's Champion, where when it pertains to Monet, the AEW Women's Championship is always going to be that one title that's always going to elude Monet. It's the one title that Monet just can't win. Now it's looking as if Monet is on the hot track, if you will, to beat Statlander at Full Gear and walk out AEW Women's World Champion. That I don't want to see at all. And not for nothing, when they lost, I said the same thing when it pertains to Athena. I don't think they really know what the hell to do with Athena. Every time Athena's in a highly profile matchup in AEW or at an AEW pay-per-view, she ends up losing. Whether it's Toni Storm that she loses against or she loses against Mercedes Moné. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, you have this woman pretty much the longest reigning women's champion in all of Ring of Honor. So, A, how much do you honestly give a shit about Ring of Honor? And B, how much do you honestly give a shit about Athena at this point? Athena's probably the best thing going right now in Ring of Honor, to be honest with you. And there's not a lot of people watching Ring of Honor's product, to be honest. But she's probably the best thing that's going over there right now for Ring of Honor. So there was that. And we got Willow and Harley Cameron advancing in the tournament by beating Athena and Mercedes Moné. So we also had that. I told you guys, man, and I want to keep saying this until shit changes. Injuries are hindering this company. There was comments that were made about Will Ospreay. People were saying that, he's going to return in January. I don't see it. This guy had severe neck injury, man. I don't see him coming back within the next 2 months. I just don't. If I honestly had to predict when Ospreay came back and predicted his return, it's probably going to be sometime in the spring going into the summer. To be honest with you. Swerve, I don't know, bro. Swerve, again, he's also dealing with injury. MJF is filming a movie, which hopefully he does return back to AEW here soon. But injuries are hindering this company, bro. It's the nature of the beast at this moment. And you can tell that, Christ, bro, look at Full Gear. Full Gear looks like it's, again, rematches from the last pay-per-view. We get literally getting Samoa Joe versus Adam Page again, and they're running it back from the last pay-per-view until now. So there's no suitable contenders right now for Adam Page's AEW World title. Mark Briscoe and Kyle Fletcher. Look, man, I made comments about Briscoe. I think Briscoe is severely underrated. And when this match was announced finally pretty much last night between Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe in a no DQ match for the TNT title, at this point now you would have to consider the fact that, are we honestly going to put Mark Briscoe over and beat Kyle Fletcher for the TNT Championship? Is this finally time? Am I against Mark Briscoe being TNT Champion? No, because when it pertains to Mark Briscoe, I don't really see him being AEW World Champion. I just don't. But has he earned the right to challenge Kyle Fletcher for the TNT title? Yeah. Would I mind if Mark Briscoe was a TNT Champion? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So to me, I would think that with this match here between Briscoe and Fletcher, Briscoe would have to go over and become the new TNT Champion. That, to me, makes the most sense. But, again, we're going to see how that plays out, I think, at Full Gear. But, I don't know, man. And for what it's worth, for those people out there, oh, man, you only hate on AEW. No, I hate on WWE, too. I'm going to be honest, man. War Games I'm on the same boat with War Games as I am Blood and Guts. There's just not a lot of build right now for these, pay-per-views or PLEs or special events. It's just, it feels like it's really, really lackadaisical. Especially War Games. I just feel like it's last-minute shit. WWE's playing it safe. They're pumping the brakes. It's like, man, we got about 3 weeks to get this shit rolling. Let's start building this shit up. I know we got Logan Paul, and Logan Paul seemingly seems as if he's joining the vision as far as War Games are concerned. But we need to see more, man. I want to see some surprises, some shock and awe with that. And we haven't seen it yet. I feel the same way about Blood and Guts, man. The build up for this match, I feel like it's lazy and lackadaisical. You got the women's first ever Blood and Guts match where, again, I just feel like they just can't sell it. They just can't. I can't get invested in it because I feel like they're really not putting much storyline behind it. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it's just, you know what I mean? The men's Blood and Guts match, it's okay. You know what I mean? I think it's 5-on-5 where the women's Blood and Guts match is 6-on-6. And there's been some shakeup with the women's Blood and Guts match due to injury. I think Queen Amanada ended up getting injured, and they put in Mina Shirakawa as her replacement. So injuries, again, are also hindering this company. And I think Amanada ended up getting injured, and that's why she's no longer in the Blood and Guts match, and Mina Shirakawa is. But there's not a lot of build around it, man. It feels like it's lackadaisical. It feels like it's just it's lazy booking, man. That's just my honest opinion. And at the end of the day, this AEW National Championship, I don't really see how it really benefits AEW at the moment, considering you guys already have titles on this roster that you're hardly even using. I mean, honestly, bro, how many times have you honestly said, oh, yeah, we've seen Okada defend the Unified Championship so much? Bro, no. He hardly defends that title, to be honest. I mean, Okada, for what it's worth, Okada really ain't been doing shit lately. You know, am I waiting for a matchup between Okada and Takeshita? Yeah. I mean, I told you guys last week that you can do something to kind of run this back with Takeshita and Okada in a matchup where you can have the Unified Championship and possibly the New Japan Pro Wrestling Championship on the line, title versus title, in this matchup to kind of sweeten the pot, if you will, for this matchup possibly between Okada and Takeshita. Now, I don't know if Okada is still in good grounds with New Japan. Pretty much saying hypothetically, if he were to beat Takeshita, he would be Unified and New Japan Pro Wrestling Champion. So I don't know what his relationship right now is with New Japan. But if it's good, and he's on good groundings with New Japan, which he should be, why not do Okada versus Takeshita, title versus title, where you put the Unified Championship as well as the New Japan Pro Wrestling Championship on the line in a highly profiled matchup here between Okada and Takeshita. It's a matchup that I think a lot of fans really, really want to see. They want to see Takeshita versus Okada, and it's one of the best storylines going right now in all of AEW. Even though we did not see any of these guys really last night. No Takeshita, we barely seen Okada. Okada was there, you know, approaching the Young Bucks, but other than that, there was no banter back and forth between Okada and Takeshita and the Don Callis family, and that, you know, in that matter. But I don't know, man. I just feel like AEW is at a weird state, to be honest with you. Injuries are hindering the company. Storylines are just not there. It's just, you know, it's the nature of the beast. You know, we don't get any storylines, but then we get the announcement of a new title that could possibly mean jack shit, to be honest with you. It's a international title 2.0. What was wrong with the original one? And my thing is, if that's the case, then what was the whole purpose of running Okada versus Omega to unify the titles if you're going to bring in another championship pretty much, ironically, with the same kind of structure as the international title once was? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is the point of doing that? You know, I just, AEW needs to figure it out, man. I really don't, I don't know. To me, I feel like this is a company that at one time, in the first 3 years, they were great. You couldn't even touch AEW. Now it's progressively gotten worse. People are making remarks saying that AEW is turning into, you know, WCW 2000 or this, that, you know, this, that, and the third. So, again, man, it's one of those things where they need to figure something out. And I've told you guys, man, and I'm going to sit here and say it to the end of time, that AEW, in some way or capacity, need to go back to what brought them to the dance. You know what I mean? When we were actually having fun, we were also enjoying the product, and we had no problem watching the product because we can get behind it, because we were getting excitement and storylines week in and week out. Tony Khan and the powers that be from AEW feel like they kind of walked away from that situation or walked away from that type of booking, and now we're just getting these makeshift matches to put on for AEW Dynamite and Collision. And I just feel like it's lazy booking, and they just don't care, man. I really don't. Am I a huge fan of the AEW National Championship? No, I am not. No, I am not. You have titles right now on this roster that literally you're doing nothing with at the moment. You need to change shit up. We do not need another goddamn championship added to AEW. We just don't need it, bro. We really don't. We just got the announcement of AEW adding women's tag team titles, and now you're announcing a new title with the AEW National Championship. It's not needed, bro. It's really not needed. But like I said, it wasn't a terrible show. It wasn't a good show either. I mean, it's okay at best. But again, man, it's one of those things where, like I said, injuries are hindering the show, and lack of storyline and lack of creative is what's hurting this company at the end of the day. And that's pretty much what it is. But besides all that stuff, man, I mean, like I said, there was certain good, a lot bad, some things that were definitely questionable, like the announcement of the AEW National Championship, you know, the women's tag team tournament. It's starting to pick up a little bit of pace, you know, obviously with the big win from Willow and Harley Cameron beating Athena and Mercedes Moné, but we're going to see how that plays out as well over the next couple weeks. But With that being said, though, this is my review of AEW's Dynamite. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.